The star cruiser Intrepid hung in space like a silver needle against the black velvet of the cosmos. Inside the ship's conference room, Commander Jack Holloway adjusted his dress uniform one final time. Earth's first diplomatic mission to the Galactic Conclave would make history, and as the leader of this 12-person team, Jack felt the weight of 7 billion human lives on his shoulders. 2 minutes until docking, Commander, said Communications Officer Paul Wilson through the intercom. Jack nodded to himself and looked at his team. They represented the best of humanity, scientists, diplomats, and military officers chosen to introduce Earth to the wider galactic community. After decades of listening to the stars, humanity had finally been invited to join the conversation. Remember, Jack said to his team, we're here to learn and establish peaceful relations. The Conclave has over 30 species working together. We need to show them humans can play well with others too. Dr. Olivia Carter, their xenobiologist, smiled nervously. I still can't believe we're about to meet actual aliens. Years of theoretical work, and today I'll finally see living extraterrestrials. Just don't dissect any of them, joked Security Chief Alan Bradley. At least not until after the reception. A gentle shudder ran through the ship as it connected with the massive Conclave station. Jack took a deep breath. Let's make Earth proud. The Intrepid's airlock cycled open to reveal a vast, gleaming docking bay. Creatures of various shapes and sizes moved with purpose throughout the area. Some walked on multiple legs. Others floated above the ground. Some had scales, others fur or feathers. The air smelled of strange spices and machine oil. A tall, willowy being with 4 arms and iridescent skin approached them. Welcome, humans of Earth. I am Trellix, Junior Diplomatic Attaché. The Conclave is honored by your presence. Jack stepped forward and gave the greeting they had practiced. The people of Earth thank you for this opportunity. We come in friendship and with open minds. Trellix's large eyes blinked. Your ship translator functions well. Please follow me to the reception area where you will meet representatives from various worlds. As they walked through the station's winding corridors, Jack noted armed guards at regular intervals, most of them from the same species, with gray reptilian skin and impressive height. They wore sleek black armor with a red symbol that reminded Jack of a coiled snake. Who are the security personnel? Jack asked Trellix quietly. Vikithara military? Trellix answered, his voice dropping slightly. They provide much of the Conclave's defense forces. The reception hall was a magnificent dome with a transparent ceiling showing the stars beyond. Delegates from dozens of worlds mingled, some using translator devices, others communicating through gestures. Jack's team spread out cautiously, making initial contacts. Jack was speaking with a jellyfish-like being when he noticed a commotion at the main entrance. A large delegation of the reptilian Vikithara entered, led by an imposing figure wearing ornate armor with glowing red elements. The room grew quieter and many delegates subtly moved away. The Supreme Overlord Zexcalor, whispered the jellyfish being before quickly excusing itself. Jack watched as Zexcalor surveyed the room with cold, calculating eyes. When those eyes locked onto the human delegation, Jack felt a chill run down his spine. Trellix appeared at Jack's side. Commander, a word of caution. The Vikithara Empire is the military power in this sector. They joined the Conclave only recently and still adjust to diplomatic protocols. Understood, Jack said. We'll be respectful but dignified. The warning came too late. Zexcalor was already approaching, flanked by guards. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, the Overlord looked down at Jack with clear disdain. So these are the humans. Zexcalor's voice was surprisingly smooth. Smaller than I expected. Jack straightened his posture. Supreme Overlord, I am Commander Jack Holloway of Earth. We look forward to peaceful relations with all Conclave members, including the Vikithara. Zexcalor made a sound that might have been laughter. Peace is for the weak, Commander. The strong determine the fate of the weak. That is the natural order. Dr. Carter had joined them and spoke up. With respect, Overlord, even on Earth, cooperation has proven more beneficial for advancement than conflict. The Overlord's expression darkened. Your world is young and ignorant. The universe is not kind to naive species. Jack intervened. We have much to learn, certainly. That's why we're here. Yes, Zexicalor said with a strange smile. You are here, deep in space, far from your protected world, with only one small ship. The threat hung in the air between them. Jack maintained eye contact despite his growing unease. A small, furry delegate hurried over. Supreme Overlord, the Council is ready to begin the formal welcome. The tension broke as Zexcalor turned away. We will continue our discussion later, humans. As the reception transitioned to the formal welcome ceremony, Jack gathered his team. Stay alert. The Victhara don't seem friendly. The warning proved prophetic. Halfway through the ceremony, alarms blared throughout the station. Conclave security personnel rushed into the hall. The human ship, one shouted. It's been breached. Before Jack could react, VK Tharagard sealed the exits. Zexcalor rose from his seat on the council platform. We have discovered weapons of mass destruction aboard the human vessel, the Overlord announced. This was not a diplomatic mission but an act of aggression. That's impossible, Jack protested. We carried no such weapons. The evidence is clear, Zexcalor continued as if Jack hadn't spoken. In accordance with Conclave security protocols, we have neutralized the threat. A holographic display activated showing the Intrepid erupting in flames. Jack felt the blood drain from his face. 20 crew members had remained aboard. This is a setup, Alan Bradley shouted, reaching for his ceremonial sidearm. A Vikathara guard fired before he could draw. Bradley collapsed. Chaos erupted. Conclave. Delegates scattered while Victhara troops surrounded the human delegation. Jack watched in horror as his team was cut down one by one. They had no real weapons, no way to defend themselves. Stop this, Jack yelled, struggling against 2 guards, who held him. We came in peace. Zexcalor approached, looking pleased. Peace is a luxury, human. Your species has resources we desire, and a population that will serve well enough as labor. Your deaths here will justify our protective occupation of Earth. Jack lunged at the Overlord but was struck from behind. As he fell to his knees, he saw Olivia Carter's lifeless body nearby. All around him, his team lay dead or dying. Take the commander to my ship, Zexcalor ordered. He will provide useful information about Earth's defenses. As they dragged him away, Jack caught the eye of Trellix, hiding behind a column. The alien looked away, ashamed but unwilling to help. Hours later, bruised and bloodied in a cell aboard the Victhara flagship, Jack stared at the wall. His mission, meant to begin a new chapter for humanity, had instead opened the door to invasion. The faces of his dead team haunted him. A soft hiss drew his attention to the cell door. It slid open to reveal a small, hunched alien with mottled skin. Quickly, the alien whispered. I am Crete, servant to the ship's second officer. There are those in the conclave who do not agree with what happened. I can help you escape. Jack stared in disbelief. Why would you risk this? The Vikathara enslaved my world 30 cycles ago. Others will share your fate if they are not stopped. Now come. A transport leaves for the outer system soon. Hope, small but fierce, sparked in Jack's chest. He stood up on shaking legs. Need to get word to Earth, they have to know what's coming. Crete nodded. First we must get you off this ship, then perhaps we can find a way to warn your people. As they slipped through the dimly lit corridors, Jack made a silent promise to his fallen comrades. This wasn't over. Somehow he would return to make Zexcalor pay for what he had done. Earth's first contact had ended in blood and betrayal. Its next would bring reckoning. 6 months after the massacre at the Conclave, Jack Holloway stood at the window of a secret facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains on Earth. His reflection showed a changed man, thinner, with a scar running down his right cheek and eyes that had seen too much. Behind him, the room buzzed with activity as military and intelligence personnel prepared for what might be humanity's most important mission. Commander Holloway, a firm voice called. The Security Council is ready for you. Jack turned to see Lisa Martinez, director of Earth's Security Council. In the months since his escape and return to Earth, she had been his strongest ally and convincing world leaders of the Vikathara threat. Just Jack, he replied. I don't feel much like a commander anymore. Lisa's expression softened slightly. You're still the best hope we have. You're the only human who has seen their technology. Up close, the journey back to Earth had been grueling. After escaping the Vikathara flagship with Crete's help, Jack had stowed away on 3 different alien vessels, eventually finding a sympathetic trader who brought him to the edge of Earth's solar system. By the time he arrived home, the Vikathara had already spread lies throughout the conclave about humanity's aggressive nature and primitive technology. Jack followed Lisa into a large conference room where 12 people sat around a table, representatives from Earth's most powerful nations. Their faces showed the strain of preparing for a war against an enemy with vastly superior technology. Commander Holloway, the Chinese representative began, our long-range scanners have detected a large fleet gathering at the edge of our solar system. Our analysts believe we have less than 3 weeks before they arrive. Jack nodded grimly. That fits with what I learned during my escape. Zex Kalor wants Earth's resources and its people as slaves. He'll destroy major cities first, then accept surrender from whoever's left. Can we negotiate? Asked the representative from India. Jack shook his head. The Vikathara don't negotiate with what they see as lesser species. In their culture, the strong take what they want. Then we fight, the Russian representative said firmly. We have been preparing our nuclear arsenals. Nuclear weapons won't be enough, Jack interrupted. Their shields can withstand that level of attack. We witnessed their capabilities when they destroyed the Intrepid. The room fell silent as the impossible situation sank in. Lisa stood up. That's why we've developed an alternative plan, a small team with a single objective. She nodded to Jack. Commander Holloway will explain. Jack activated a holographic display in the center of the table. It showed a massive fortress on a distant moon. This is Zex Kalor's command fortress on Vikathara Prime's 3rd moon. According to intel from my alien contact, Crete, the Overlord returns here between campaigns. If we can eliminate Zex Kalor, it would throw their hierarchy into chaos. Their command structure is rigid. Subordinates don't make decisions without approval from above. You're suggesting an assassination, the British representative stated. I'm suggesting a surgical strike to remove the head of a hostile force. About to attack Earth, Jack corrected. We have 1 stealth ship that might get past their defenses. The American representative leaned forward. What ship? Lisa pressed a button, and the hologram changed to show a sleek black vessel. The Shadow Wing, built using reverse-engineered technology from a crashed alien scout ship 30 years ago. It's been our most classified project. And the team? Asked the French representative. Volunteers, Jack said simply. The best we have. 2 days later, Jack stood in a massive underground hangar staring at the Shadow Wing. Despite Earth's best attempts to copy alien technology, the ship looked crude compared to the vessels he'd seen at the conclave, but it was humanity's only hope. She doesn't look like much, a woman's voice said behind him. But I've run the simulations. Her stealth systems should keep us off their scanners. Jack turned to see Samantha Wells, the tech specialist assigned to the mission. At 28, she was a genius in applied physics and computer systems. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail and her eyes sparked with intelligence. Should? Jack asked. Samantha shrugged. We've never tested it against actual Vikathara technology, but it's the best chance we've got. The rest of the team arrived for the final briefing. Kate Nelson, a xenobiologist who had studied Jack's detailed descriptions of Vikathara physiology, nodded respectfully to him. Daniel Grant, a weapons specialist with more confirmed kills than anyone in Special Forces history, was checking his custom rifle. Eric Freeman, their pilot, was reviewing flight plans on a tablet. Is this really everyone? Daniel asked, looking round. 5 people to save the world? 5 is enough if we do this right, Jack said. Our goal is simple. Get in, eliminate Zex Kalor, get out. We're not trying to win a war. We're trying to buy Earth time by throwing the enemy into confusion. And if we fail? Kate asked quietly. Jack met her eyes. Then Earth falls. But they'll fall fighting either way. The launch was scheduled for dawn. That night, Jack couldn't sleep. He stood in the observation room above the hangar, looking down at the shadow wing. Having second thoughts? Lisa Martinez asked, joining him. No, Jack answered. Just wondering if I'm leading another team to their deaths. This is different, Lisa said firmly. Last time, you didn't know what you were walking into. This time you do. That almost makes it worse, Jack admitted. The Vikathara fortress is the most heavily defended location in their empire. Lisa placed a hand on his shoulder. I've read your file, Jack. Before you were a diplomat, you were the best infiltration specialist in the service. And you've seen their technology up close. No one else could lead this mission. Jack nodded slowly. We launch in 4 hours. You should get some rest. So should you, she replied, but left him alone with his thoughts. As the first light of dawn touched the mountains above, the Shadow Wing prepared for departure. The team ran final checks on their equipment as the hangar doors above slowly opened to reveal the stars. Jack took his place in the command chair. Memories of the Intrepid and his murdered team flashed through his mind. He pushed them away and focused on the mission ahead. Engine systems green, Eric reported from the pilot's seat. Stealth systems online, Samantha confirmed. Weapons ready, Daniel added. Medical and biological countermeasures prepared, Kate said. Jack took a deep breath. Shadow Wing, you are cleared for launch. Lisa's voice came through the comm. The hopes of humanity go with you. The ship rose silently through the open hangar doors and accelerated toward the stars. Behind them, Earth grew smaller, a blue jewel that 5 humans had sworn to protect against impossible odds. As they approached the jump point that would take them toward Vikathara space, Jack spoke quietly. No matter what happens, we make them remember that humans don't go quietly. The Shadow Wing disappeared into the jump point, leaving only empty space where Earth's last hope had been. The Shadow Wing emerged from its final jump point, the stars shifting around them as the ship returned to normal space. Ahead loomed the massive gas giant Vikathara Prime, its swirling storms visible even from this distance. Orbiting the planet were 3 moons. The third and largest was their destination. Stealth systems at maximum, Samantha reported, her fingers dancing across the control panel. So far, no indication they've detected us. Eric guided the ship carefully through the debris field that surrounded the gas giant. Approaching the dark side of the third moon, we'll use its shadow for additional cover. Jack studied the tactical display showing dozens of Vikathara vessels patrolling the area. Their security is even tighter than I expected. The attack fleet must have already departed for Earth. Which means Zexakalor is likely in his fortress, Kate said, preparing for what he believes will be an easy victory. As they approached the moon, the true scale of the Vikathara fortress became clear. It wasn't a building, but an entire complex, carved into the moon itself, with massive hangar bays and weapon installations covering the surface. There's our entry point. Jack indicated a smaller maintenance hangar on the display. Scans show minimal activity. We'll land there and proceed on foot to the central command area. Daniel checked his weapons one final time. Just to be clear, we're 5 humans about to infiltrate an alien fortress with thousands of hostile Vikathara inside? Not just any 5 humans, Jack replied with a grim smile. The 5 humans who are going to save Earth. Eric brought the Shadow Wing down silently in the maintenance hangar. Through the viewports, they could see a few worker-class Vikathara moving equipment. None had noticed the ship thanks to its advanced stealth technology. Remember your injections, Kate reminded everyone as they prepared to disembark. The compound should mask your human scent from Vikathara sensory organs. They rely on smell as much as sight. Jack activated his tactical display. A small device implanted near his eye showed a map of the fortress based on data provided by Crete. We split up here. Samantha, head for the central computer core and disable their internal sensors. Daniel, set charges at these key structural points as a contingency. Kate, you're with me. Eric, stay with the ship and be ready for extraction. The team nodded, faces serious but determined. They had trained for this mission for weeks, but nothing could fully prepare them for what they were about to attempt. 30. Minutes to synchronize watches, then we move, Jack said. If anyone is compromised, the mission continues. Earth comes first. Slipping out of the shadow wing, the team used service tunnels to infiltrate deeper into the fortress. The passageways were designed for maintenance drones and smaller servant species, forcing the taller humans to crouch as they moved. Jack and Kate reached a junction where Samantha and Daniel would take different routes. "Good hunting," Daniel Lee whispered, clasping forearms with Jack before disappearing down a dark corridor. "See you at extraction," Samantha said, her voice steady despite the fear visible in her eyes. Jack and Kate continued toward the fortress's upper levels where intelligence suggested Zexacolor's private chambers would be located. They avoided patrols by ducking into alcoves and maintenance shafts whenever heavy footsteps approached. "Something's wrong," Kate whispered, after they'd been moving for 20 minutes. "We haven't encountered nearly as many guards as expected." Jack nodded. "I noticed. Either our intelligence was wrong or they're gathering somewhere." Kate finished the thought. They got their answer when they reached a ventilation shaft overlooking a massive chamber. Hundreds of Vikathera warriors stood in formation, fully armed and armored. On a raised platform, several Vikathera officers surrounded a holographic display showing Earth. "It's a pre-invasion briefing," Jack whispered. "They're preparing the second wave." As they watched, a side door opened and a hush fell over the assembled warriors. Supreme Overlord Zex Kalor entered, his ornate armor gleaming under the harsh lights. Even from a distance, Jack recognized the alien who had ordered the massacre of his friends. "The first wave will begin bombardment of the humans' major cities in approximately 12 Earth hours," Zex Kalor announced, his voice carrying throughout the chamber. "Their primitive defenses will fall quickly. The second wave, will secure their resource centers and begin processing the survivors for labor distribution." The warriors pounded their chest plates in unison, creating a thunderous sound that echoed through the chamber. "We need to move," Kate urged. "If the first wave launches in 12 hours, we have even less time than we thought." They continued through the fortress, eventually reaching the upper levels where the architecture became more elaborate. Clearly the domain of the elite Vikathara. Jack's comm unit vibrated. "I'm in the computer core," Samantha's voice came through. "Their security is like nothing I've seen, but I've managed to loop the surveillance feeds in your sector. You have 20 minutes before the system resets." "Charges are set," Daniel reported, moving to secondary targets now. Jack and Kate reached a massive door marked with the same symbol Zex Kalor wore on his armor. "This is it," Jack said. "His private chambers." Kate removed a small device from her pack. "Biometric scanner. Let's see if we can fool it with the genetic samples we prepared." Before she could apply the scanner, alarms began blaring throughout the fortress. "Intruder alert in Section 12, a voice announced in the Vikathara language, which Jack's translator rendered into English. "That's nowhere near us," Kate said, confused. Jack's comm crackled. "They found me." Daniel's strained voice came through, punctuated by the sound of weapons fire. "Got careless. Took down 3 of them before they—" More weapons fire drowned out his words. "Daniel, fall back to extraction point," Jack ordered. "No time," Daniel replied. "Too many of them, but I'm going to give you a diversion you won't forget." His voice was calm now. "It's been an honor, Commander." The comm went silent for a moment. Then a massive explosion rocked the fortress. Emergency lighting activated as the main power fluctuated. Daniel triggered the charges. Samantha's voice came through, shaken but determined. "I've used the confusion to access their command network. Jack, Zex Kalor isn't in his chambers. He's heading to a ceremonial temple on the east side of the fortress. Some kind of pre-war ritual." Jack closed his eyes briefly, honoring Daniel's sacrifice. "Send the temple location to my display, and Samantha, get back to the ship." "What about the mission?" she asked. "The mission continues," Jack replied firmly. "We're going to finish what Daniel started." As Jack and Kate changed direction toward the temple, they encountered less resistance than expected. Most of the guards had responded to the explosions, leaving other areas undermanned. "The temple should be just ahead," Kate said as they approached an ornate archway. Beyond the arch was a sight that stopped them cold. In a circular chamber with a high-domed ceiling, Zex Kalor stood over an altar where prisoners from various species were chained. Several were already dead, their bodies carelessly pushed to the side. The blood of inferior species strengthens. The Vikathara dominance, Zex Kalor was saying to several acolytes. With each conquest, our rightful place in the galaxy is affirmed. Jack felt rage build inside him as he recognized the scene for what it was. Not just a ritual, but a sadistic display of power. Beside him, Kate's face showed equal horror and determination. New plan, Jack whispered. I'll create a distraction. You free any prisoners who are still alive and get them out. And Zex Kalor? Kate asked. Jack checked his weapon. He's mine. Jack moved silently along the edge of the temple, using the ornate columns for cover. Years of military training combined with the bitter drive for revenge made his movements precise and deadly. He counted 6 Vikthara guards plus Zex Kalor himself. The odds were terrible, but Jack no longer cared about survival, only completing the mission. Zex Kalor raised a ceremonial blade over another prisoner, a blue-skinned being who struggled weakly against its restraints. With this offering, the conquest of Earth is assured, the Overlord intoned. Jack activated his comm one final time. Samantha status. Back at the ship with Eric, she replied. Kate just reported in. She's taking a different route to the temple, to assist you. Negative, Jack said firmly. Tell her to return to the ship. That's an order. Jack, Samantha began. If I don't make it back, launch without me. Get word to Earth about what's happening here. The mission comes first. Before Samantha could argue, Jack cut the connection and readied his weapon. From a pouch on his belt, he removed several small devices Kate had prepared, sonic disruptors tuned to Vikathara hearing frequencies. When Zex Kalor raised the blade again, Jack threw the disruptors. They activated in mid-air, emitting a high-pitched, sound inaudible to humans but devastating to Vikathara. The guards clutched their head crests in pain, disoriented and vulnerable. Jack didn't waste the opportunity. He fired 3 rapid shots, taking down the nearest guards before they could recover. The element of surprise gave him precious seconds to advance into the chamber. Zex Kalor recovered faster than his subordinates, his eyes locking onto Jack with instant recognition. The human survivor, he hissed, dropping the ceremonial blade and drawing a more lethal weapon from his armor. You should have died with your pitiful delegation. I came back to return the favor, Jack replied, diving behind a stone altar as energy blasts from Zex Kalor's weapon scorched the air where he had stood. The remaining guards regained their composure and spread out, trying to flank Jack's position. He counted his remaining ammunition. Not enough for all of them, but maybe enough for his primary target. A guard appeared at his left, and Jack fired without hesitation. 4 guards left. Another came from the right, and Jack rolled away from the altar, firing twice. The guard fell, but not before grazing Jack's leg with a return shot. Pain flared up his side, but Jack pushed it away. He'd survived worse. He limped to new cover behind a column, checking his tactical display. The temple had only 2 exits, the main entrance he'd used and a smaller door likely leading to private chambers. A barrage of fire from the remaining guards kept Jack pinned down. Through the weapons fire, he heard Zex Kalor issuing orders. Secure the human alive. I want to know how he infiltrated our fortress. Jack grimaced. Being taken alive by the Vikathara was not in his plans. He readied his last sonic disruptor, preparing for a final desperate assault. The temple doors burst open. Kate Nelson rushed in, firing precisely at the guards nearest Jack. 2 fell immediately, giving Jack the opening he needed. I ordered you back to the ship, he shouted as she slid into cover beside him. Kate's expression was determined. I don't remember joining the military, Commander. I'm a civilian scientist making my own choices. Before Jack could respond, a massive explosion shook the temple. Part of the ceiling collapsed, crushing one of the remaining guards. Samantha's gift, Kate explained. She hacked their power regulation systems. Secondary explosions should continue, for several minutes. Jack nodded gratefully. Zex Kalor? Retreating through the side door, Kate pointed. He's wounded but moving fast. Ignoring the pain in his leg, Jack pushed himself up. Free the prisoners if you can. I'm going after him. The side door led to a narrow corridor ascending into the fortress's upper levels. Jack followed the trail of greenish fluid, Vikathara blood, according to Kate's briefings. Zexakalor was indeed wounded, but a wounded predator was often the most dangerous. The corridor opened onto a landing platform where a small shuttle waited. Zexakalor was at the shuttle's entrance barking orders to the pilot. Around him, a handful of elite guards formed a protective circle. Jack assessed the situation quickly. The platform offered minimal cover. It was designed for quick departures, not defense. A direct assault would be suicide, but if Zexakalor escaped, Earth would burn. An idea formed in Jack's mind. Reaching into his pack, he removed the last piece of equipment Kate had prepared, a vial of concentrated pheromones from a Vikathara rival species. According to Kate, it would trigger aggressive territorial responses in any Vikathara who detected. Jack threw the vial. It shattered near the shuttle's intake vents, the liquid evaporating instantly into the air circulation system. The effect was immediate. The pilot stumbled out of the shuttle, disoriented and aggressive. The guards turned on each other, their disciplined formation breaking down into chaos. Zexakalor, showing the superior control that had made him Supreme Overlord, fought against the chemical's influence. He staggered toward the shuttle's entrance, determined to escape. Jack didn't give him the chance. Focusing through his pain, he activated the tactical enhancement Kate had given all team members, a temporary boost to strength and reflexes at the cost of severe physical strain afterward. The world slowed around him as the enhancement took effect. Jack sprinted across the platform, firing with precision at the distracted guards. Two fell before the others even registered his presence. The remaining guards, still affected by the pheromones, divided their attention between Jack and each other. Zexakalor turned, his weapon raised. Jack ducked under the shot and tackled the Overlord to the ground. Despite his wounds, Zexakalor was incredibly strong. His clawed hand closed around Jack's throat, cutting off his air. "You primitives," Zexakalor snarled, "thinking you could challenge the Vikathara Empire. Your world will burn, human. Your people will serve us until they are no longer useful. Then they will be discarded like all lesser species." Black spots danced in Jack's vision as oxygen deprivation set in. His hand scrabbled desperately at his belt, finding the grip of his combat knife. With the last of his strength, he plunged the blade into the soft spot under Zexakalor's jaw, exactly where Kate had indicated a vital artery would be. Greenish blood spurted from the wound. Zexakalor's grip loosened in shock and Jack rolled away, gasping for air. The Overlord clutched at his throat, eyes wide with disbelief. "Impossible," Zexakalor gurgled. "Defeated by prey." Jack struggled to his feet, retrieving his knife. "This prey bites back." The Overlord collapsed, his blood pooling on the platform. The remaining guards, seeing their leader fallen, broke from their pheromone-induced confusion and rushed toward Jack. A burst of weapons fire cut them down from behind. Kate appeared at the corridor entrance, supporting one of the freed prisoners. "Jack," she called, "we need to go. The fortress defense systems are coming back online." Jack looked down at Zexakalor's body, at the face that had haunted his nightmares for months. In that moment, a new idea formed, one that might save Earth more effectively than simply killing the Overlord. "We're taking a trophy," Jack said grimly, raising his knife once more. Minutes later, they raced back through the fortress corridors toward the maintenance hangar where the Shadow Wing waited. Jack carried a sealed container, its contents secured, for the next phase of his plan. "Samantha, prep for immediate launch," Kate called over the comm. "We've got Jack and one survivor. Daniel's gift is keeping most of the Vikathara busy, but not for long." As they reached the hangar, Eric already had the engines running. Samantha stood at the entry ramp, providing covering fire as they sprinted the final distance. "Did you complete the mission?" Samantha asked as they boarded. Jack held up the sealed container, his expression hard. "Not yet, but we will soon." The Shadow Wing burst from its final jump point, severely damaged but still flying. The ship's hull bore scorch marks from multiple weapon impacts sustained during their desperate escape from Vicathera space. Inside, the surviving team members worked frantically to keep systems online. "Status report," Jack ordered, strapping himself into the command chair. The sealed container from the fortress was secured beside him. "Engines at 40%, Eric reported, his face streaked with sweat and grime. "Life support stable, weapon systems offline. We've lost stealth capability," Samantha added, fingers flying over her console. "And communications are limited to short range." Kate looked up from treating the blue-skinned alien they had rescued. "Nix here says he's from a species called the Talari. His people were among the first conquered by the Vicathara. He knows the Conclave Station layout intimately. He was a servant there before being sent to the fortress for punishment." Jack nodded. The Conclave Station, that massive hub of interspecies politics, was exactly where they needed to go next. "How long until we reach it?" 2 hours at current speed, Eric answered. "But Jack, we're in no condition for another fight. We should head directly back to Earth." "Earth is already under attack," Jack reminded him grimly. "We can't win that battle by force, but we might be able to stop it before it begins." He explained his plan, a desperate gamble that relied as much on psychology as on tactics. As he spoke, Samantha's eyes widened and Kate nodded with growing hope. Even the alien Nix made a sound that his translator rendered as approval. "It's insane," Eric finally said, "but no more insane than everything else we've done. I'm in." The next 2 hours were spent making repairs and preparations. Jack cleaned Zex Kalor's severed head and placed it in a transparent case that Kate had fashioned from medical supplies. The Grizzly trophy would be the centerpiece of their plan. Nix provided crucial information about the Conclave's upcoming war, council, an emergency session called to officially approve the Vicathara's defensive action against Earth. Representatives from all major galactic powers would be present, including many who secretly feared the Vicathara, but were too intimidated to oppose them. "There," Samantha said, pointing at a small screen showing their approach vector. The Conclave Station. The massive structure hung in space like a gleaming wheel, with ships from dozens of worlds docked along its spokes. Among them were several Vicathara warships, their distinctive red markings visible even at a distance. "They're hailing us," Samantha reported. "Standard identification request." "Send the diplomatic codes from the Intrepid," Jack ordered. "They won't expect those." The confusion caused by a presumed dead Earth vessel arriving during the War Council bought them precious minutes. The Shadow Wing docked at a secondary maintenance port before station security could organize a response. "Remember the plan," Jack said as they prepared to disembark. "Kate, you and Nix find the station's broadcast center and upload the evidence package. Samantha, Eric, secure our escape route and be ready for a quick departure." "What about you?" Kate asked, though she already knew the answer. Jack lifted the transparent case containing Zex Kalor's head. "I have a council meeting to attend." Station security was in disarray with most forces concentrated around the main council chamber. Jack moved through service corridors that Nix had identified, avoiding patrols and cameras. His leg wound throbbed with each step, but determination pushed him forward. He reached a service entrance to the council chamber just as the proceedings began. Through a small observation port, he could see representatives from dozens of worlds seated in concentric circles. At the center stood the acting Vicathara commander, surrounded by guards. "The Supreme Overlord's fleet has begun the necessary pacification of the human world," the commander was saying. "This council's formal approval is required by protocol, but the action is already underway for the safety of all Conclave members." Jack used Kate's final gift, a small device that temporarily disrupted the chamber's security scanners. Alarms blared briefly, then fell silent. He slipped through the service door and into the shadows at the edge of the chamber. A Talari representative was speaking, voice trembling slightly. "Perhaps we should consider diplomatic options before." "The humans were given their chance at diplomacy," the Vicathara commander interrupted. "They chose violence. The Supreme Overlord himself witnessed their treachery." "Did he?" Jack called out, stepping into the light. "Would you like to ask him?" All eyes turned to the lone human who dared interrupt the War Council. Jack walked forward, unhurried despite the weapons aimed at him. When he reached the center of the chamber, he placed the transparent case on the floor for all to see. Inside was Zexcalor's severed head, his expression frozen in final disbelief. Gasps and murmurs erupted throughout the chamber. The Vikathara commander staggered back, hissing in shock. "I am Commander Jack Holloway of Earth," Jack announced, his voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. "6 months ago, Zexcalor murdered my diplomatic team and claimed we brought weapons to the Conclave. He lied. He planned to invade Earth from the beginning." On cue, the chamber's display screens activated, showing footage Kate had recovered from the fortress. Zexcalor describing his plans to enslave humanity and harvest Earth's resources. The footage continued, showing the ritual killings in the temple and the imprisoned representatives from other worlds. "The Vikathara don't just threaten humanity," Jack continued as the evidence played. "They've conquered and enslaved dozens of species while this council watched in silence. You feared them too much to act. I'm here to show you that they can be defeated." He gestured to the severed head. Supreme Overlord Zexcalor was killed by a team of 5 humans who infiltrated his supposedly impregnable fortress. 5. If we could do that, imagine what all our species could accomplish together against Vikathara tyranny. The Vikathara commander found his voice. "Kill this human immediately," he ordered his guards. But the guards hesitated, looking to the other conclave representatives. The chamber had fallen silent, the balance of power visibly shifting. An elderly representative from a species Jack didn't recognize stood slowly. "I move that the Vikathara attack on Earth be condemned and immediately halted. For too long we have allowed fear to guide our decisions. No more." Another representative stood. Then another. Soon, most of the chamber was on its feet. The Vikathara commander looked around in disbelief as his support evaporated. "You have no authority," he snarled. "The conclave has spoken," the elderly representative replied firmly. "Signals are already being sent to recall the attack fleet. The Vikathara Empire's membership in this conclave is hereby suspended pending investigation of these crimes." As station security forces moved to surround the Vikathara delegation, Jack felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned to see Kate, with Samantha and Eric behind her. "It worked," Kate said, smiling despite her exhaustion. "The recall signals were authenticated. Earth is safe. And what about him?" Samantha nodded toward the commander, now being restrained. "He'll face justice," Jack replied, along with the rest of the Vikathara leadership. The elderly representative approached the humans. "Commander Holloway, the Conclave owes you and your species an apology. We should have acted sooner." Jack shook his head. "Just make sure it never happens again, to any world." "The Conclave will change," the representative promised. "Beginning today." As word spread throughout the station, representatives from formerly subjugated worlds approached Jack and his team. They shared stories of Vikathara oppression and expressed their gratitude for humanity's bold action. 2 days later, a proper Earth delegation arrived, led by Lisa Martinez. As Earth formally joined the reformed conclave, Jack and his team stood as honored witnesses. "I keep thinking about Daniel," Jack said quietly to Kate as the ceremonies proceeded. "He should be here to see this." "He is, in a way," Kate replied. "His sacrifice made this possible." Jack nodded, looking out at the gathered representatives of 100 worlds. Where once there had been fear and division, he now saw the beginnings of true cooperation. Earth would not face the galaxy alone. Later, as Jack prepared to return home with the delegation, Lisa caught up with him in a corridor. "The president wants to give you a medal," she said. Jack smiled tiredly. "I don't need medals, just knowing Earth is safe is enough." Lisa studied him for a moment. "And what will Commander Jack Holloway do now that he's saved the world?" Jack looked toward the viewport where Earth was visible as a distant blue dot among the stars. "Help build something. Better, I hope. We've earned our place here, now we need to make it count." As their ship departed the conclave station, Jack took one last look at the gathering of worlds. A solitary human had entered the War Council holding the Supreme Overlord's severed head. But humanity would go forward as part of something greater. A galaxy where cooperation might finally triumph over conquest.